It's been 6 months since devastating floods struck southeast Queensland. The worst affected area was the small farming community of Grantham in the Lockyer Valley, where what's been referred to as an inland tsunami swept 12 townsfolk to their deaths, wrecked homes, businesses and vegetable farms. One of the first reporters on the scene was Paul Lockyer.
Grantham was simply picked up and dumped on farming land east of the town.
Paul Lockyer has been back in Grantham this week as locals take in the interim findings of Queensland's Commission of Inquiry.
How encouraging is this? The paddocks running away from Grantham full of vegetables now. Pickers in the paddocks behind us here taking lettuce to the Brisbane markets. It's such a big contrast to 7 months ago, particularly on that early morning of January the 11th. At dawn we came across here in the ABC helicopter, not knowing what we would see because there were doubts about how many people in Grantham had actually survived the flood. They were all sheltered in a schoolhouse at the top of the hill over there. And it appeared that most of Grantham had simply been picked up by the flood and deposited on these paddocks around here. Much of the debris ended up on Derek Schultz's property.
As sad as what it is, you name anything that is an appliance, tap fittings, kitchen sinks, anything has been strewed through our farm. There's a house, got washed off its stump on the other side of town. It's washed through into the here. There's cars strewed everywhere. It's just whatever anybody could ever imagine in a house, it's strewed through the farm and the properties up here. It's just phenomenal.
It took an enormous amount of time for the farmers to clean up these paddocks, and even now as they cultivate, even more debris comes to the surface.
This is what we do. This is what we're about. So, yeah, a lot of things are coming together.
He's no stranger to Landline. We've followed his progress since the beginning of the year, and I caught up with him in the last week. How much of a difference could a disaster plan have made in this situation, do you think?
How far would the disaster plan have to go? Has anybody ever had any disaster of this type in this part of Australia? No. People are looking for someone to blame, yes, and you can appreciate that, but I don't know, can you blame the council? Can you blame the state government? Can you blame ourselves for not sort of being more proactive? Who do you blame? You know, it's hard to accept. Yes, it is hard to accept, there's no doubt about that, but it's something that we really have to sit down and look at outside the circle and just say, well, we have to live with this now. This is what's happened to us. We have to learn from this. Yes, we do, but, you know, how far do we go in our learning curve now? That's what we've got to look at.
To our news summary now. And there's little doubt that last summer's floods in Queensland will have far-reaching implications for the response to and recovery from natural disasters right across Australia. For her part, Premier Anna Bligh, widely praised for her immediate handling of the disaster, says the Commission of Inquiry's recommendations will be given priority ahead of the next wet season.
I intend to implement them without exception. This is a blueprint for us to manage future disasters better. We owe it to those people who suffered in this disaster to learn the lessons and to act on them, and that's what we'll do.
30 recommendations were aimed at the operation of Ivanhoe Dam, which not only failed to protect the city of Brisbane, but directly contributed to the severity of the flooding. Brisbane's Lord Mayor at the time is now State Opposition Leader.
Why then, armed with the information they had, why didn't they do something about the management of Ivanhoe Dam? And the Commissioner has indicated that there are questions about how that all unfolded, and particularly of concern, there's no record of any sort of decision-making process by the Minister, and clearly that needs to be addressed.
Will the Minister apologise for his inactions, then do the right thing, the Westminster thing, and resign?
Has the Westminster concept of ministerial responsibility been totally abandoned?
Will the Minister finally resign?
Apparently he won't.
He sought both verbal and written advice, and all of that advice confirmed at the time that there would be very small or negligible impacts of any reduction, and that he should not make such a reduction.
I also acknowledge that various decisions could have been made better and in a more timely way.
The damage bill in Queensland is already around $5 billion. Implementing the recommendations will also be expensive.
But across a budget the size of the state government, and some of this will be over a number of years, this is a very important investment in our safety. The cost of not implementing these initiatives, I think, would be far greater in the long term, both in financial and human terms.
The Commission of Inquiry will deliver its final report next February, just in time for Queensland's state election.